So my my sermon not going to be too long. Hopefully that I can make it to the point, and that you can feel it touching your heart or touching your friends or family's heart. Will the message be sink into your heart and your minds? So today I'm going to talk about addiction. And it was very funny because when I was preparing the sermon, I was thinking, how am I going to preach a sermon on addiction? And a story do come up, it's called The Prodigal Son. When we did the call for worship, it actually did the sermon for me pretty much. But when we think about the prodigal son, we don't think about the prodigal son as anything to do with addiction. So when we think about the word addiction, we think about, hey, maybe it could be smoking, it could be alcohol, it could be maybe gambling, but what is addiction? And what is the definition of addiction? According to the medical dictionary called named Tabor's, addiction is a compulsion and a maladaptation to a substance, such as it could be alcohol, it could be tobacco, it could be opiate pain medications, or it could be due to behavior such as gambling. Not only is it a maladaptive or compulsion, it also has what we call social, economical, physical, and also legal ramifications. So when we think about addiction, when we think about compulsion, it's some kind of urge that we need to do, something that we must do. If I don't do it, it's not right. So you're losing some kind of control over yourself and your mind. So when you lose control, we call that maladaptation. So you can adapt to yourself. Instead of having yourself controlling what it is, it could also be that whatever that you're addicted to is controlling you. It's controlling you from the inside and also in your mind. So we take a look at the book of the prodigal son. First of all, it begins with a son who have a father. The father has two sons. One is the older son, and the one is the younger son. The younger son have what we call probably addiction problem. The addiction problem leads to many consequences. So at that time, back in the days, when the father had a lot of money, he came from a very, very wealthy family. This prodigal son, he came from a very wealthy father. But he said to his father, give me half of your inheritance. Give me half of what I own. Split it between me and my brothers. Give me the money. You see, addiction is costly. It does cost money. So when he was addicted to whatever that he's addicted to, you may already know as you read on to this knowing about the prodigal son, he's addicted to something. That addiction controlled him. And not did that addiction control him. As many of you have friends or family members who are addicted to maybe drugs or other things, it costs a lot, it's very expensive. And you need a way to finance your addiction so you can keep on going and keep on getting the high or the urge and keep on going in a repetitive way that you even willing to break up with your family. This prodigal son is telling his father, you know what, father? I do not care about you. I do not. Back in the days when you asked the father for inheritance, you're asking your father to die. I do not care about you. So he cared about his addiction more than his family members, his father. So when you think about addiction, or even people who may have addiction, I'm happy that they do come over here because if you do have an addiction problem, it's good that you're here to listen to this. Because it will be a time where you will even separate from your family members, separate from your social circle, separate from your wife or your children, because you're addicted to this substance or this behavior you have no control over. Well, he doesn't have that much to worry about because he grew up in a very rich family and he probably does not care about the people around him. You see, addiction leads you away from people who cares about you, leads you away. So he got the money from the father, got split half in half between his older brother and him. So when he got his money, what do you think he do with the money? You don't just ask your father for the money and you stay living in your father's house, right? If I could ask my father for inheritance for what my portion is, when I ask my father, would I have the pride to still stay in my father's house? No. He wants to continue on his addiction because he fantasizes it. It gives him the urge and compulsion, and he has no control over it. Absolutely no control. So in order for him to entertain his addiction even more, guess what he did? He traveled to another country. He traveled to another country to entertain his addiction with wild living. That's what it says in the Bible according to the New International Version, wild living. In the end, you find out what he's spending it on. He's spending it on prostitutes. So his addiction is more what we call sexual immorality that we find out what the older brother disclosed later in the Bible. But wild living could also be alcohol too. It could also be smoking. It could also be gambling. It could be all of those things. But it comes with a cost. You're no longer home once the addiction controls you. You're no longer where you should be because you're out from your family circle. When you look at the prodigal son, he ran away from where he should be. He's supposed to be home, but he ran to a different country and he made new friends. Friends that is not even his friends at all. You know, when he squandered his money on prostitutes, the prostitute want only one thing. They don't really care about him. They care about the money. After he loses the money, and if he talks with the prostitute will just shut the door because all they care about is his money. So he used up a lot of his resources because of that. But while living is that he probably also spent his money and his resources on alcohol. Now speaking about alcohol, I saw a patient yesterday. He came to see me because I haven't seen him before. He said, you know what, I was given a second chance. I was given a second chance and I'm not going to blow it because I almost died. Almost died in the hospital because I keep on drinking and my liver died. How does alcohol damage the liver? You see, alcohol and addiction is something internal, something that you cannot see. It does so much damage to his body, to his liver, it becomes scarred up, a process medical term called cirrhosis. When you have a cirrhotic liver, or if you have a liver that is all scarred up, it no longer functions. What does the liver do for the body? It helps to clean the blood, helps to take away the junk and all the dirt that's inside your body. So he damages the liver because he has this addiction to the alcohol. But not only does that, the blood is not getting passed from one part of his body to his other part of the body because when the liver is scarred up, there's no passage. It becomes obstructed. So it's like a clot that is there. You undergo a process where you get congestion inside your blood vessel and you damage your circulation. If one part of your body is not communicating with your other part, you will lose it. It's gone. So when a person drinks alcohol, when they become addicted to alcohol, they damage their liver. For this man, he said he was given a second chance because he was able to live again due to medical interventions. Because one part of his body is not able to communicate because the liver is scarred up. Guess what he has to do? He needs to have surgery. It's the surgery that saved him because he has to put a lot of shunts from one entry of the liver to another to allow the blood flow so he can be purified again, so he can live again. He came to see me because he's not sure what this abdominal pain is causing from after his surgery. So he came to say, you know what, God gave me the second chance. I have the conversation with him. I told him, I don't believe this is your second chance. This is probably your multiple chances. Because I know for myself that we all are sinners, including myself. Even though I'm a doctor and I'm a physician, I'm not perfect either. We all have our own addictions to certain kind of things. He was given a second chance and he's very proud of it. And later on we prayed. So when I think about this sermon, I think about the addiction controls you. And it leads you to damage to your body. But I don't want you to get to a point, where you hit rock bottom, where then you realize you make the turn, because it will affect your body physically already, that you'll carry the weight and the burden for the rest of your life. And that's not the way how you want to happen, to find a way to solve this addiction. Now back to the story about the prodigal son. You see, he has a lot of money. When he has a lot of money, he uses money for addiction. When you're addicted to something, you lose money, right? You only have so much resources that you can have until you run out. So he spent all his money with his addiction. He squandered all his spending, all his wealth with whatever that he had. And guess what? He's living the life. He's living the life that he wanted, to enjoy the here, now, and then. Having parties with the girls, having the alcohol, doing whatever that he wants without any control, without any law, without any rule. So when someone is so addicted, they're not going to work. And this applies to each and every single one of us. It may not happen now, but when you start to become addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol, addicted to gambling, you'll notice that in your bank account, you're getting more poor and more poor and more poor. Why? Because it started to affect your mind and your physical ability, and you cannot perform the work that you're supposed to do. It will affect your performance in your social circle as well as your work circle. You can't perform it. So you're not able to have a job or even maintain your job. There are a term called what we call functional alcoholics, functional smokers. Yes, they're functional for a time limit. You only have so much resources. You only have so much reserve inside your body until your reserve runs out. Once the reserve runs out, you break down and you can no longer function. Either you'll be fired, either you'll be let go, either you'll be written up. So this person, the prodigal son, he just entertained himself because he has so much money. But that money, that resources, that reserve doesn't stay there forever. As you look at even in our modern history regarding basketball players, boxers, famous football players, they make millions. They make in the 300 or 200, they have so many millions. Even me as a doctor, I struggle. I don't even think I can see 1 million in my lifetime, or even 2, compared to all those famous football players, all those baseball players, superstars, entertainers. They entertain themselves with whatever that they pleases because they're addicted to drugs. They're addicted to certain things that runs and controls them. So what happened to this prodigal son? What happens to this prodigal son? After he spent all his money, a famine occurred. A famine occurred. That is, you start being hungry, you start losing weight, you start not eating right. Does that happen in a person who's addicted to substance or to something else? Does that ever happen to people that you know? Or even to yourself if you have the addiction? That does happen, right? You start to become hungry, you start losing weight. People start to notice some physical change in you, and even some mental change in you because you're not behaving the same. You no longer smile the same, you're no longer happy, you're no longer energetic, sleeping at work, yawning at work, not doing the things that you're supposed to do. So he was hungry. He hit the famine. And guess what? He's broke. He's broke. He doesn't have anything next to him. He has no money. He has no friends. He has no food. He has nothing. That is where you hit what we call rock bottom. Rock bottom is when you have nowhere else to go, nowhere else to turn to. Either you die, or you try to crawl yourself back up and try to struggle to become back alive. But he hit rock bottom. The reason why I also want to tell you about this addiction is, I don't want you to hit rock bottom like the prodigal son. I don't. I really don't want to see you to get there. I don't want to see myself to get there. I really don't want to see any one of you guys to get there, to hit rock bottom before you make the turn. Because hitting rock bottom is hard and it's cold. And it's not something that you want to go to. It's even worse than being in jail, even in hell. It's bad to hit rock bottom because it's like complete emptiness, complete detachment, and that is when you notice that you need help. So how do you overcome this addiction? How do you overcome this addiction? This person, the prodigal son, one of the richest person in this world, one of the richest person from a rich family, affluent family, what did he do? He said, I sinned. I sinned against the heavens. I sinned against my Father. First of all, to overcome addiction is to admit that you're addicted to something.
That's right.
Without admitting, you're not going to get anywhere. Why is admitting so important? Because you first need to confess that you are addicted, that you have no control, and you need help. That you do need help. Without admission and confession that you do need help, you're not going to get the help that you need. Second, after you confess, guess what he planned to do? He think about his father. He think about all the servants that he had that was not starving, was not being like him, being hungry or hitting rock bottom. It also comes to us as church members. Sometimes we stay in church and we leave church, right? But when we leave church, we become detached from God because we are so focused on our addiction. We leave church because we are like the prodigal son. We leave church, but when you hit rock bottom, you think about the church members in your church. The church members, not all of them are rich, not all of them are poor, but they're well fed. They're well dressed. They're happy in the Spirit of God. So he think about his family, the prodigal son, think about his family, saying that, you know what? I know where I was before. I want to be back there. I want to be back with my loved ones. I want to be back with my father. Be back with my wife. Be back with my son. Be back with my daughter. Be back with my parents. Be back with the people who are close to me. Because they're actually the ones who are important. But admitting that you're addicted or have addiction is one thing. The next thing is to surrender it. Yes. Because if you don't surrender your addiction, you'll stay where you're at. You will not move. You'll be at the same place. He surrendered his addiction. He put it down. He let go of his gambling or his ways with the prostitutes or his drinking habits. He surrendered. He left it. And he went back to meet his father. Part of something that you learn with addiction is that you learn to be humble. You really learn to be humble. You no longer see yourself as a child of God anymore. You see yourself even lower than a child of God. That's what addiction do to you when you do surrender addiction. Because when you do surrender addiction, you'll notice that you're actually less than everybody around you. You'll humble yourself to the minimum, to as a servant of God. So when he humbled himself, he went and go back home to see his father, to see his family, or to the church family, or to his immediate family, or to his spiritual family, to God himself. So when we take a look at what addiction does, it brings him back by surrendering and letting go. And then after he let go, he went back and to see his father. Regarding about addiction and turning back, you need to lose your pride. You really need to let go your pride. That's what prodigal son did. He let go his pride. He no longer see himself as the way how he used to see himself. Because he already wanted his inheritance and he got it. He's no longer a son anymore because he already got his paid dues. So he has no money. He no longer carries the right of a son because he got his inheritance. But he's willing to work for his father, willing to turn back and see his father again and letting go his pride. So sometimes we need to let go our pride in order to get healing from addiction. So one thing about addiction is, the reason why I think about this story is so important because we all have addictions. The first thing is to admit. So one of my addictions when I was a child was video games. Actually, video games is not bad. Actually, it's actually good because it teaches you problem-solving skills, work on your reflexes. It actually helps you to increase your concentration, your stamina, and it also helps you. It becomes a problem when video games or whatever that you have becomes addiction. That's when it becomes a problem. Even though I got good grades in school, because I was blessed with a gift where I don't have to study that much, I'm still able to get good grades. And many people are jealous of me because I get that gift. But regarding the gift that God has given to you, you'll lose it if you keep on abusing it. You'll lose it. For example, I love playing video games. I spend a lot of money on video games. I play it all the time. So when it becomes addiction, you will know you have no control over it. It takes over your sleep. It will take over your meals. So when I get into a video game, I lose all senses of time. I don't know when it's morning. I don't know when it's nighttime. Once I'm in the zone, once I'm in the game, in a gaming mode, I don't know anything else. Even when my mom asked me to sleep, I said, "Mom, don't bother me. I'm in my game." And the reason why I do eat, not because I want to eat, is because so I can get back into the game so my mom will stop bugging me and irritating me, right? That's the reason why. You see how addiction fractures your relationship with people? I'm going to tell you how this addiction, sooner I was able to let go of this addiction, is because you only can get so far, and you only can abuse the God-given gift that you have for so long until it takes a toll on you. When I was in undergrad at Loma Linda, I was still playing video games even before the test. Even though I was able to pass it, it come to a time where, hey, you know what? I'm not meeting the grades that I'm meeting, and I'm falling asleep. I start yawning in class. I'm not getting any younger myself. So what I'm used to be able to do in the past, I'm not able to do right now is because I'm older. And I abuse the gift so much, and your brain and your mind only can take so much before it starts to shut down. So it comes to a point where I either have to give gaming, or I'll lose my career. It comes to that point. But I didn't hit rock bottom, because I don't want you guys to hit rock bottom. I want you guys to be aware of what's controlling you. I want you to be aware of what's the behavior that's happening too, that's inside your mind and inside your body before you hit rock bottom. I was fortunate that I don't need to hit rock bottom before I make the change. So guess what I did? The same thing what the prodigal son did. Admit that I cannot control my addiction, for one, because I'll end up in the same place. And two is to surrender my gaming habits, which what I did was I gave my gaming system or my games to my friends, so let them deal with the addiction so I don't have to deal with it. But I don't recommend you to give your cigarettes and your alcohol to your friends and neighbors either. Like the way how I give up my games. But because it's addiction that you don't have any control over, that's what happens. So when you take a look at the prodigal son, so I make the turnaround. I was able to restore and graduate very well. I went to medical school afterwards. But the thing is that it did take a toll on my body regarding this addiction, because it wears down on your body. And whatever damage that it does on your body and on your mind, on your brain, it stays with you. Unless you pray and God can restore you and give you new functions. And God can do that for you. So when the son came to the father saw him from far away. Saw him from very, very far away. Why? The son is no longer looking the same. Given the fact that he's been in another country, being in the fact that he has no money, given the fact that he was starving, he probably does not look like a son. He probably looked like a grown, withered up old man, but his father is still able to recognize him. No matter how broken you are, no matter how far away you are, God is always looking out for you to reach you, to help you with your addiction problems and bring you back. Now, speaking about gambling, that's another addiction that people do have. I haven't been a big gambler myself, but speaking about gambling, it's very addicting. Do you know why? Because you have this false hope that you'll win each and every single time. There's multiple casinos. I think I went to Morongo, there's one in San Bernardino, but I don't gamble that much. But when I am in that addicted zone, like when I was in video games, you lose control, right? So speaking about gambling, I was in medical school. When you're in medical school, you're broke, you don't have that much money, and all you are dependent is on student loans. That's all you depend on. You don't have that much money. You work like a dog, you study, and you try to cram all those books within minutes inside your brain and try to regurgitate all the answers at will. And you need to do that. If you can't do it, you're not going to pass medical school. But I went to Las Vegas, and I was gambling one time. And I brought $200 because when you do gamble, you set a limit of how much you're going to lose, right? Yeah. Once you lose, you're going to say, okay, that's it for me. But you know when addiction happens? The addiction happens that even though if you did lose, you'll still continue. So when I was in medical school, I used the $200 to gamble. And then I was actually winning. But when you win, you know how it occurs. Addiction will get you hooked. You have no longer control, and you keep on repeating the same thing, and then I lose that $400. I was up $400. I lose that $400. I was so happy that I got $400 because back in the days, $400 is a lot of money. Back in the days, about 8 years ago, that is a lot of money. That $400. But now $400 doesn't carry the same weight, but back in the days it does. It carried a lot of weight. Not only did I lose that $400, I was telling myself I could win the money back. And you keep on winning and winning, and I lost $400 in addition. So you lose the money that you brought back, and you lose that $400. That's when I determined I'm never going to gamble again. Because why? When you're broke and you're a medical student and you're dependent on loans, you kind of hit rock bottom, but that's not the way how I want you to go. Because when you have a gambling issue, you can even gamble your family away. You can gamble your family and your life away. So don't think that or take gambling as something that's light. Addiction is something that's real. So I do have addictions, so do other people. The most important thing is to surrender them. Surrender it to God. So that's the way how you can let it go. If you don't surrender them, it will have control over you. I still have addictions to myself, but each and every single one of you, some of you may not have addictions, that's fine, I'm happy for you. But people who do have addictions, I pray for you, because only the people who are sick need help. Jesus came for the sick, He didn't come for the healthy. So each and every single of you, if you do have addiction, either to shopping, or anything that's very superficial, it's still addiction, or to soda or to food that can cause diabetes and other medical problems, or to salt or to steak and lobster or whatever that you have, that's addiction. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. You don't need to tell me what you're addicted to, but I want you to close your eyes and confess your addiction to God right now. Close your eyes and confess that. Don't tell me what your addiction is. Some people just shout it out loud. Keep it to yourself. It's okay. But if you want to shout it out loud, go ahead and shout it out loud. I'm okay with that too. So confess it to God. Tell God, because He's right now in this church and nothing is hidden from Him. He already knows what you're addicted to. All you have to do is confess it and surrender it. I'm going to pray right now. God, the people who have addiction in their secret, in their mind, I don't need to know about it, neither do their neighbors or anybody else. Take their addiction away from them. Restore them. Rejuvenate them. Because you, like the story of the prodigal son, we get restoration from you. Because of your love and your amazing grace, you're able to restore us and bring us back. No matter how broken we are, no matter how tender we are, or how beat up we are, you look at us no different, or how humble we are. You look at us no different than yesterday, today, or tomorrow when you created us. We're so perfect in your eyes that when we come back to you, you call us sons again and daughters again. And I take this, I pray this in Lord Jesus' name. Amen. That's the end of my sermon. Thank you.